Publisher Podcast, episode 86. Well, hello everyone and welcome back to another episode. I am Alexa Bigwarf, your host, and y'all, I recorded this episode so long ago I had to go back and re-listen to it, and I'm so glad I did because this was hands down one of the most fun interviews I've done in a while. So Sean is an accomplished film and stage performer. He's been acting since he was 6. And in this interview, we talk about his book, The Power to Speak Naked, How to Speak with Confidence, Communicate Effectively, and Win Your Audience. But we talk about so much in this interview. We cover speaking so that you can build your confidence and your messaging and connecting more with your audience through your messaging, as well as the difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing and why he did both with his book, along with his book launch and marketing tips and speaking stuff and all kinds of stuff. It's a power-packed episode that will also make you giggle. And don't worry, even though it's titled Power to Speak Naked with Sean Tyler Foley, it actually requires no nakedness. So no worries there. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Publisher Podcast, a place where you can come to get inspiration, motivation, help, encouragement, and support in your journey to write, publish, and sell your book. Hosted by Alexa Bigwarf. 'Cause I've been where you've been, and I felt what you're feeling, and I don't want to get in your way. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Publisher Podcast. I'm Alexa Bigwarf, your host, and I am really excited to bring you our first ever celebrity to the show. Welcome, Sean Tyler Foley. Do you go by Sean Tyler or?
Oh, if you want to impress my mom and my agent, yeah, Sean Tyler, but it's a mouthful. So my wife calls me Tyler. You have permission to do the same.
Thank you.
Just don't go by Sean because I don't know who that is.
Okay, sounds perfect. No Sean's in house, only Tyler's. All right. Well, first of all, you all may have noticed the deeper tone voice. Yes, this is one of our few men that we have on the podcast from time to time, which is always fun because men are out there doing great, wonderful things in the promotion and marketing world as well. But he's also an actor. He's been in some shows. If you're my age, you've probably seen some movies. Jason versus Freddy. I don't know, or Freddy versus Jason. Sorry, got that backwards. Door to Door, Carrie, and the musical Ragtime, which is a little bit different than those others. So, when did you start acting?
I was 6 years old, actually, the first time I was on stage, and it's been a vocation, a profession, and a hobby for the last 35, 37 years. It's it's something that I really truly enjoy. Actually, my daughter does it too. When you and I are done with this interview today, I actually have to take her up to set. She's in the middle of filming a commercial right now. She was on set yesterday, and then she's on set today as well. So it's an exciting family business now.
That's a lot of fun. My daughter, who is 10, wants to, among other things, among also being a firefighter and a cop and a singer, she also wants to be an actress. And one of my friends was like, you should have her get into like stunt acting. Then she could be the firefighter, the cop, and the so much fun. So, but that's not all you do. Acting has been obviously probably a huge highlight to your life, but you're also, per your bio, passionate about helping others take the stage confidently and impact an audience with their stories, which really is a big piece of what we do through the Women in Publishing Summit, through our podcast, is really to help people understand the importance of their words and the impact of our words or our stories on others. So I think that's really cool. And really the reason that you're here today, because you're currently the managing director of Total Buy-In and author of the #1 best-selling book, The Power to Speak Naked, which I think is one of the best titles I have ever seen. Are you actually going and speaking naked?
So funny story about that. Yes, but no. So I think it's a fantastic title too. So thank you so much. And my cover artist, Lorraine Shelba, did an incredible job bringing kind of my vision to life with the cover. unfortunately, because she did such a good job bringing my vision to life for the cover, I'm actually banned from advertising the book on Facebook and Amazon because it breaches their policy on nudity. So I, I unfortunately can't advertise traditionally, which is one of the tribulations with promoting my book. But I actually did do one presentation of Power to Speak Naked for charity, and it came about because I wouldn't normally do that. That's not part of the speaker fee when you book Sean Tyler Foley. Tyler does not take his clothes off, but I was doing one of my own events and little kind of 45-minute introduction um, uh, talk, and this guy in the back kept heckling me. And, hey, naked guy, take off all your clothes. And I was like, no, sir, that's a different venue, different show. That ticket is a lot more than what you have paid to be here today, sir. And he wouldn't leave me alone. And I've been in performance for decades, and I'm used to being able to handle and disarm hecklers. And this guy just wouldn't stop. Like sometimes, the strategy is to ignore them. Sometimes they just want the attention, so you interact with them and then pivot. And sometimes you have security remove them. But in this case, the guy, he just was relentless. So I was like, listen, this is what I will do. If you are really that eager to see me naked, I will do it. But it's going to cost a whole bunch because I'm going to have to get a whole bunch of permitting. And I want a commitment from everybody here today. And we had like 200 to 300 people in the audience that day. Said, I want everybody here to agree that they are going to pay for this ticket. And if everybody agrees to pay for the ticket, I will come and redo this talk and we will donate all of the proceeds to two of my favorite charities here. So it'll be a charity event. You guys will apparently get to see me naked and we'll just redo this talk. And sure enough, everybody agreed to do it,
Wow.
which like blew my mind. I think the charity component sold it because nobody wants to see Tyler naked. I promise you. Even my wife, I'm a nudist at heart. I will wander around the house without my clothes on. She's like, honey,
Please
close,
stop.
please, now. So the fact that this audience was willing to pay a decent sum of money for the ticket to raise money for the charity was really quite something, and we were able to go and do the ticket after. And when I went and did it, I'm comfortable in my birthday suit. I had no problem doing it. I think the audience was more uncomfortable with it. So after about 5 minutes and having proved my point that, if you are truly confident in your message, you can do it anywhere, doing anything. That I relieved them of their discomfort by standing behind the podium for the rest of the time, which is completely and totally counter to my instruction. It was the
Right.
worst thing that I had to do because I was like, normally I wouldn't do this. I don't believe in podiums, but you all feel like you need this. So that's what we did.
A perfect example of being able to read the room, right?
Yeah.
Or
Oh, yeah.
the things we do for our fans or hecklers in that case. So let's talk about the book. What is the Power to Speak Naked all about?
Really, it's about finding your inner confidence through your message
Mhm.
and understanding what it means to be authentic. For me, authenticity is synonymous with self awareness. So, a good portion of the book is dedicated to helping people really truly discover who they actually are as opposed to who they want to be. And I find it amazing that when you can find comfort in who you are, what you've done, and where you've been, as opposed to this future casting, all of the doors that open up and how your message really starts to impact people because you've been there, done that, as opposed to I'm trying to achieve.
Mhm.
And so the book is really about unlocking our stories, discovering who we are, and then finding confidence through competence. And competence actually has a legal definition: adequately qualified, suitably trained, with sufficient experience to perform the task with minimal or no supervision. And if you are living and breathing, you are adequately qualified to speak on stage. So it's the other two portions that we need to really work on. Suitably trained, finding mentors and tutors who can get you to a position where you can tell your message confidently, and then sufficient experience, finding those opportunities. And they are everywhere,
Mhm.
absolutely everywhere, where you can talk about your story, give your message to the people who truly need to hear it, and we work on how to do that and tips and tricks on finding your voice within the stage.
That's really good. I know there's a lot of authors in our community who are self-help coaches. They are, fall in the nonfiction field, the transformational nonfiction, all of those places where speaking really is business owners and entrepreneurs. Speaking really is a key part of their journey forward. So that sounds like a great tool. Now, you mentioned in your notes that you've been self-published and traditionally published. Which way did this book go?
Both. So I
Oh.
originally self-published the book back in 2019, and it was really a fun journey to do. And then when I did it specifically so that I could get onto some bigger stages, one of the
Mhm.
promoters that I work with said that he wanted to work with me but couldn't find a slot on my stage or on his stage until I had a book that he could offer at back end sales to complement my training course, which we would have sold from stage. And so there was a real impetus for me to get a book out there so that I had a
Mhm.
thing. And so originally I self-published it, and then at one of the workshops that I was speaking at, and I always give my book out for free as publicity and almost like a business card, really. A traditional publisher picked it up. More specifically, was given it by one of the attendees, and that was on his team. And David at Morgan James reached out to me and said, I'm interested in
Mhm.
publishing this. Would you be interested in going the traditional route? And the idea of being able to walk into a bookstore and pick up my book as opposed to sending everybody to Jeff Bezos' site to pick it up
Mhm. Mhm.
was really, really, really appealing to me, particularly to have it internationally.
Yeah.
And so to be able to have sales in the UK, to have sales in Australia, to have Asian sales, that was a big thrill for me to be able to get there. So yeah, I did both with this book.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And you said a few things that I want to unpack here. First of all, I'm really glad that you said that you were turned down from speaking events until you had a book, because that's what I've been telling authors or business owners for a long time. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that validated, that it really does make a difference. In your case, probably because you were selling a course. So you really need that extra expert ticket there. But the second thing you said that I think is really important for people to listen to is the importance of giving out their book at events. If it's not, a lot of times people think they're going to these speaking events so that they can sell books, and maybe that happens later on down the road. But I'm in agreement with you that sometimes you have to give to receive, and in your case, a huge
Yeah.
receipt from that. So that was cool. And then the third piece is, those are the things right there that you just said that do make a big difference, being traditionally published with a medium to large size. Some of the small indie publishers don't have the same things, but the medium to large, with getting it internationally, really solidly internationally, not just available through Ingram Spark internationally. And then the bookstore piece is obviously easier. So I just wanted to highlight those three things because those are important. I am a huge fan of self-publishing books. I've self-published numerous of them. I help people self-publish their books. I think there's a time and a place. But the thing, 10 years into this industry, I realize now is that there certainly are some major advantages to being published by especially a large publisher who has those connections and
Yeah.
things. So let's talk marketing, because the biggest question I have is, certainly as an actor you must have some connections,
Mhm.
as someone who's been building a business and is in this and is speaking, like, you've already got some level of platform. Did it help you with this book?
Again, yes and no.
Mhm.
All the connections are great, but the book still has to speak for itself. And until
Right.
people know A, who you are, and B, what you're doing, you have to give them a compelling reason why. And so a lot of the marketing, especially because, uh, as much as I've been in film and television and as extensive as my resume is, it's the font is very small now to get everything into one page. Um, the people like your audience listening to Publisher right now, didn't know who I was probably when you introduced me, and that into itself, I have to kind of do the really have the good PR push,
Hmm.
actor, author, even the number one best-selling tag has, I always laugh because as somebody who's in publishing, you can understand and appreciate the first time I hit number one was number one in my category in Amazon, and it was with 13 sales. So, but
Yes.
Amazon sent me the badge, and I was like, "Well, way to go, Tyler." And and because I didn't feel good about that, then I really wanted to kind of push some of those and get a proper number one or
Right.
in the top 10 of just Amazon. Period. Which is actually again not as difficult as I think people think it was. And I tried doing a couple of different things. So I tried. Doing that, the launch scheme. You get your friends and your
Hmm.
family together and tell them to buy 3 books or gift it out or try to run up the Kindle instead of the paperback and all of those things, and nothing was working. And then I was speaking at a conference. Now I was lucky because this conference had about 6,000 people in it. And what I did was it was in the States because I'm Canadian. So this was a thing that I could only do being in the US. There is a wonderful, wonderful website called bookshop.org.
Yes.
And I mean,
Yes,
I
we love
I
Bookshop.
love that site more than I can ever express. I plug them every chance I get. And what I did was, you can register as an affiliate with them. So
Hmm.
when you promote books, you can use an affiliate code and actually get a commission selling off of that site. Further, they're going to connect your readers with their local book
Right.
retailer. So not only are you distributing your sales that are being tracked in a way that some of the big seller lists like to see, but you're also doing a little bit of social good because Jeff just flew himself to space in a phallic shaped rocket. He doesn't need more money, but your local book retailer is probably struggling. So to be able to connect them and get them the sale. Plus, bookshop.org actually sells titles for a little bit cheaper than what they retail for.
Hmm.
So everybody is winning when you direct them through
And they
bookshop.org.
ship. And they ship
And
just
they
so that
ship.
people know, like, you don't have to go physically to your local bookstore. You can order it and they'll ship it right to your door, just like
Yeah,
Amazon.
usually for the same as you're going to get from the other online retailers. So it's just to be able to essentially double dip because I was getting my royalties from my publisher. Plus, I was getting my commission from bookshop.org. So I was
Nice.
actually making more because I'd lost that, right? When I went the traditional route, I lost being able to have the really nice big paycheck with royalties.
Hmm.
I went from I think it was what 65 or 70% with Jeff to down to I think with my agreement I'm getting 20%.
Hmm.
And
Well,
so to be able to
that's still pretty high compared to a lot
yeah.
of traditionally published authors. So good for you.
Well, I'm a good negotiator, and the work was done with the book. They didn't
Yeah,
have to
that's
do a
true.
lot.
That's a good point. That's a good
So,
point.
and it had a bit of a tested track record, so I was able to talk it in. But to be able to do that, so what I did was I put up a code, QR code when I was speaking. And I was like, for anybody who's interested, yes, I have the book, and we do have copies at the back table. If anybody wants to buy a physical copy right now, we're selling it for $20. But you go to bookshop.org right now, you can get it for $16 and you can get it, you can help a local book retailer. And I think it would be better if we could help out the bookstores versus helping me out. So anybody who's interested in getting it right now, we have a limited number of copies at the back. And I think I brought like 100 copies or something, which we sold out, which is great. But I mean, 6,000 crowd, I should
Mhm.
have.
Mhm.
But we ended up moving almost 1,000 units by doing it that way.
Wow.
And I think the key was to really highlight the charity part of it. So bookshop.org also grabs that pool money, right? So any bookstore who is struggling can apply for the funding. And I think they've raised like $20 million right
That I
now.
did not know. That's
Yeah,
really cool. That's
yeah.
an even better reason to use Bookshop.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a million reasons to do it, and I think by highlighting that, I was able to move significantly more copies as opposed to here, buy my book. I'm a great person, and there's some wonderful information in it. And then they were able to save the money. Now the downside was they had to wait a couple of days to get the book delivered to them, but I
Mhm.
think people were willing to do that to save a little bit of money. And what was interesting is I was selling a course,
Mhm.
so I was coming back to the city about 6 weeks later. And although we limited, the seats were limited to 300 people and we did sell out, a whole bunch of people ended up coming anyway and just waiting. And they were like, hey, I got my book. Do you mind signing it? You were signing it at the other event. Do you mind signing my book? So I ended up having like about 100 or so people, in addition to the attendees that were coming to the event, come just for a book signing.
Hmm.
And so that was a really cool thing, and I didn't even think about offering that as a thing. So now that is something that I do. If you buy it now, come back to the event, we'll have a special book signing day. And I try to coordinate that now with a local bookstore. And so we're going to do a book signing after my first day here, and this is what it'll be. And it's that whole PR engine. It really
Yeah.
kind of facilitates itself. But I think the more you push the social good, the more people are inclined to help out.
Yeah, I mean, anytime people have a bigger reason to participate, I think that really makes a difference. A- a- and there's just, I mean, like you said, so many good things. A point to our listeners, if you're wondering how you get your book in bookshop.org, if you're indie published, you have to be through Ingram Spark. So I'll make sure to put my YouTube tutorial on how to load your book to Ingram Spark if you're not sure how to use that in our notes, because that's, I mean, it's such a great point. Especially, I mean, I see people saying a lot of times, how do I, well, I guess we're just going to call him Jeff now. How do we not use Jeff's services, aka the big Amazon? And Ingram Spark is your alternative for that if you're indie publishing. Now back to the event in the first place, because obviously, you had to have been speaking at that event to have all of those things happen. Do you have advice for those who are authors and may have courses or other things that they're, or just trying to build their speaking career on how to even, I know you teach how to speak confidently in your book, but do you also talk about how to even find the speaking events?
Um, in the revised edition of the book, we will. It was one of the things that when the book came out, I realized was missing because I do teach it in my courses.
Hmm.
And so we actually have a revised edition of the book. And because I'm clever, ready? The Power to Speak Naked, revised edition, bigger, longer, and uncut.
Oh
Because I'm going to be cheeky.
no.
And the funny thing is, so my publisher is 70%, give or take, of their publications are actually Christian works.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And so for me to be able to sneak that past was a little bit of a joy for me. And
That's
so
fun.
it's in the works now, and it's done. It's approved. So that's the title. But in the revised edition, they'll be able to get it. But in the workshops, I do it, and anybody who actually comes to my website, SeanTylerFoley.com, we actually offer a free course that shows people how to get some of these speaking gigs. The first thing I would tell people is use the power of the internet. You would be surprised at how quickly you can find opportunities to speak just by using your search engine.
Hmm.
And the key phrases there are call for speakers, call for presentations, um, and then type in whatever your niche happens to be. And this works for fiction and nonfiction writers. Obviously, it's going to be better for the nonfiction writers, particularly in a business section. But uh, this has worked. I coached an incredible author, actually. She's 17 and has her first book published. And
Oh.
I met her through my publisher, and it's a fiction work. But I showed her how to find the stages, and a lot of it was, still finding those youth entrepreneur and those
Mhm.
author stages. So whatever key tag word you want to use, and change it up, find the ones that are yielding the best results. But a quick search engine on the internet is going to find you what you want to find. And then the other thing that I do is I regionalize it.
Hmm.
So if I'm like, I was speaking in Dallas in May, and um, before I went around February, I started doing searches for other conferences and conventions that were speaking in May. Same with I was going to be speaking in Fort Lauderdale, actually Boca Raton. I was flying into Fort Lauderdale, but I was speaking in Boca Raton in September, and I had again reached out to did this search looking in that area for West Palm Beach,
Hmm.
um, Fort Lauderdale, Florida in general, Orlando, where what are some of the conventions that are there, and is there a call for speaker for them? The funny thing is with the Florida event, the one that I was supposed to be speaking at canceled, but they'd already purchased my plane ticket. And because I'd done this search, I'd actually booked two other
Oh, nice.
um, events that were supposed to bookend it. So instead of having this packed weekend, I actually had a really nice, relaxed flight
Mhm.
down, and so that worked out really well. And so that's the other pro tip there is don't just be satisfied with the one. Once you book the one, try to see what else you can put together if you're going to be traveling,
Yeah, that's really smart.
and look in your local area. Chamber of Commerce is a great one to reach out to if you've got some kind of business expertise. They're always looking for people to provide value to the chamber. Sometimes they don't pay initially, but there's always ways to monetize that message, particularly if you're going to give first.
Hmm.
Um, One of the things that I will also do with my speaking gigs, if it is a paid engagement, which is primarily what I do now, I very seldomly speak for free anymore. Um, I will always give the venue or the promoter a 50% discount if they're willing to donate $1,000 to the local food bank.
Wow.
And, and that I always make it worth their while, right? Because the $1,000 is going to significantly offset what they would normally pay me, and then it goes to good. And the other thing that I will do is I will always include with my speaker fee 100 copies of my book,
Nice.
and then give that to them to do with whatever they want. So they can choose to sell it, which can generate revenue, or they can choose to give it away as a bonus or a gift to their
Hmm.
attendees or whatever they want to do. But I always include that in my speaker fee so that when you're comparing apples to oranges, because it's never apples to apples with speakers,
Hmm.
speakers are always, you're always a unique character. So when they're looking at this fruit platter, yours is going to be the most appealing thing for them to pick up. You
Yeah.
get to be the passion fruit.
The passion fruit, I love it. That's a really smart idea. It also really hints at how much money people can make once they get into a good speaker circuit, once they're at that place that they're someone that people want to bring in and are, because you don't just go out there making that kind of money, as you alluded to with the Chamber of Commerce, starting there with the free ones, but eventually once you have it all, unless you're just, I don't know, superpower, maybe some people come out and start at that. I haven't even ever asked to be paid that much money. I haven't tried to find any speaking against events like that. Now I'm like, maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree with all of my efforts. Maybe I should start seeing what events are out there that will pay me. I'm so used to
Yeah,
going to publisher conferences that most publishers and companies are so broke. Like you get a free ticket to the conference, and it's like, yes.
yeah, yeah. It's time to start. And that's the other thing too. Like figure out where people are spending the money at
Yeah,
conferences.
yeah, yeah.
One of the places, especially if you're entrepreneurial, any one of the MLM conferences, they're spending ridiculous amounts of money to try and hype up their people.
That's
And applying to
true.
MLM conferences is really really, and because they're everywhere, they're always in a fun spot, and they're making money hand over fist, so they're spending it big on with big production value to try and get their people energized. So
Yeah, that'd be actually kind of fun. I used to sell Jamberry back in the day before I entered into this world.
yeah.
Nail stickers.
Oh,
So
I
much
was
fun.
aware. I was aware of what Jamberry was. I don't. I So the backstory, when you're a performer, and particularly one who looks like I do, And I'm slight. I used to do drag in the West End of Vancouver as a fun little side gig, because performance is performance to me, and
Right.
I absolutely love the art form. And so yeah, no, I'm aware of Jamberry, and every once in a while, if I want to have pretty nails, I know where to go.
That's so fun. All right. So, oh gosh, this has been a great conversation. I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to share if you have some overarching tips or if you have specific marketing tips or whatever you would like to leave our audience with in terms of the marketing piece or speaking piece.
Well, so to both, I would say don't don't be afraid to get creative with your value offer. If you're trying to sell more books, um, don't make the book the focus, as
Mhm.
weird as that
No,
sounds.
that's perfect. Yes, that's it's people don't care about the book.
No, they really don't. And in fact, I'm always amazed at when people actually have read my book. Like it's few and far between, but every once in a while you get somebody who's like, "Oh yeah, and you talked about this," and I go, "Did I really? Could you show me? 'Cause that's really smart. That sounds good. Show me where I said that." You know, and but what people care about is the experience and how you make them feel. And if you can constantly deliver an experience for them, whether that's through your written words or through your spoken words or through other means, find the value that's there. Sometimes there will be a bit of a lost leader.
Mhm.
Um, I still give my books out at the chamber events, but I'm selling them from that's my author copies.
Yeah.
And so you should be able to get it, particularly if you can be creative with how you're ordering, at least get a couple hundred so that you're keeping your unit costs down, but do it in a way that that you're going to get rid of them.
Mhm.
It's so one of the reasons why I like to get clever with that speaker fee is, say typically I'm going to charge an event $7,500. If I do that 50% one, right, I'm going to be like, so, but if you come in, I can do it for 3750 if you give $1,000 to your local food bank.
Mhm.
So they're still under 5K for a speaker, which is incredibly reasonable.
Mhm.
That's just baseline, and so that's the
Right.
other thing too. I think people need to understand what the value of their experience, their time, and
Mhm.
their expertise is. Um, if you were to teach this individually to one person, how much would you charge? Now multiply that by 20, 100, a
Mhm.
thousand, 6,000, however many happen to be in that audience, and that will give you an idea of what you should be charging for your time. But you want to always lead with the value. So for me, it's I want to do some good. I will knock off 50% for my speaker fee if you're going to give to XYZ charity.
Mhm.
I will typically pick the local food bank unless I know that the organizer has a charity that they align with, and then I will say, please donate to this charity because I know it means something to you, which also shows that you've done some research into it
Mhm.
and being able to align that way and then provide that value. I'm going to give you 100 books. Now, if you can get your unit costs between $1 or two, you're forking out $250 to up front to purchase these books,
Right.
but you are providing the value. If your book is selling at $20 and you're giving 100 of those to the venue, you can say these retail for $20.
Mhm.
I'm going to give you 100. That is $2,000
Mhm.
of value that you can now choose to do with what you want. So for me now, my 3750 fee has been reduced down to 1750,
Mhm.
and it's cost me $250 to do it, so I'm still making 1500 bucks.
Mhm.
Why not? I'm actually making more than that, but on the front end
Right.
surface of it, um to the venue, I'm probably only pulling in 1500. And then they go, oh, okay, no, I understand why, we're getting all of this and it's costing us very little. If we're under 5K, we're getting this. And then
Yeah.
I always tell people, I'm not just a keynote. if you need me to do a breakout session, or if you need
Mm-hmm.
me to stick around and work the crowd, if you want me to be doing back end sales, whatever you need, I am paid for the day,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not going to stack up my day. I'm not going to have to go and hop over to another thing. My fee gets you me for the day.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
a great way to do it.
how can I make myself the most useful to you? And then they're usually really happy to work with you.
I think that's a really good advice. And I have to say, we've interviewed a lot of people about finding speaking engagements through the years on our conference every year, and nobody has ever given those types of suggestions, which I do really think will make the difference when they're, like you said, comparing. At the end of the day, it is about value and money and all of that. And if someone's going to come and bring them not only the value, but savings, and do something that makes them feel good in the meantime, why not? Why not offer it?
Well, and the other thing is too, there's it's kind of like when, when I had my book self-published, I listed it at 27.50 specifically so that I could backroom sell it for $20.
Hmm.
Is the book a 27.50 book? I don't know, but it's the perceived value of it,
Right.
right? Same with, if I'm coming up saying that my speaker fee is $7,500, there's probably another speaker who's just as competent and can provide the exact same value and messaging as me, that's 5 grand, but I tell them 37.50. If you do this, they're still going to be spending almost 5 grand on either one of us, but all of a sudden I look like so
Yeah.
much more because I've already primed them to think that I'm a $7,500 speaker.
Right.
And really,
Right.
I need to up my speaking fee now. I mean, I've spoken on stages that have had Les Brown on them, and
Yeah.
Tony Robbins, and Phil Town. So I should be upping my fee, but you know, I'm I'm a humble Canadian boy who
It's
likes what I charge, where I charge, how I charge.
it's a nice place to find yourself, Tyler. You've done well.
Yeah.
You've come a long way from that Freddie versus Jason.
Yeah, that camp counselor number one, sitting on a porch.
That's so much fun. We always have such an obsession. Not everyone, but I think it's normal in the American population, just like this absolute interest in people who make it into a movie. So just the fact that you were in a movie makes you a superstar in my eyes. Oh, it's so much fun. This has been wonderful information. Everybody go check out SeanTylerFoley.com, and then also stages.SeanTylerFoley.com. I'm assuming that's where your course is.
Yeah, so if
Yep.
they go to just the SeanTylerFoley.com one, they will there's a link right there that will direct them to Endless
Perfect.
Stages. But or if they want, they can go to the endlessstages.com URL as well. Either way, I would encourage them to come through to that, because that will give them access to a free PDF download of The Power to Speak Naked, so they don't have to pay for a hardcover. They can get the PDF
Nice.
version of it. They'll also get access to my Drop the Mic speaker trainer course, and get into the Facebook group, the Endless Stages Facebook group, where I go live for 20 minutes every Tuesday at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, and give a training of the week. And that's a live interactive session, and a really fun thing to do. So,
Well, sign me up. That sounds amazing. I appreciate your time. I know you have a lot going on, and all this information will also be in the show notes if you're driving or walking or exercising or whatever you're doing. So go check out the show notes and be sure to connect with Tyler so that you can learn how to get on big stages and ask for lots of money to to talk about what you're an expert in and sell your books as well. So thank you again so much. This has been great.
oh, thank you, Alexa.
You don't have to give me your heart. You don't have to give it away.
Thank you for joining us on the Publisher Podcast. We hope to see you back for the next episode. Great, huge thanks goes to Jasmine Commerce for the use of her song. You can find Jasmine on SoundCloud. Go check out all of her music. We'll see you next time.